Jesus. Now the guy told me that he had a new piston and the jug had been bored and recoated and everything, and he put these new reed valves in, but the bottom end was still in great shape. And the story that he gave me was that he's rebuilt this entire engine from the bottom up. He's had it rebuilt. So we're going to look at the inside, and I have taken the top end off the engine, the head and the cylinder, just to check and make sure the person that I bought the bike from was telling me the truth. And so let's move over there. Let me get rid of this damn chair. That's for sure. It's going to be in the way no matter what. There we go. Okay, so here we are at the engine. As you can see over here, I've purchased some new parts for the bike. Mostly rubber grommets like this that go in the frame. They were either dry rotted or split or missing altogether, along with some screws. I got a new spring for the kickstand because the spring that was on the kickstand is old. It really wasn't doing its job that well. New chain, new sprockets. These are OEM, as a matter of fact. I got these off of eBay. Somebody was selling them. Their OEM came in the original package and they're genuine Kawasaki parts right there, made in Japan. I was stunned, but they were a little pricier than the aftermarket ones, but I thought, what the hell? You get the original ones, just about $15 more. So new steering stem bearings. We got new what do you call it? Shock linkage. The linkage underneath the swing arm for the shock suspension. We got that. I have new swing arm bearings on the way. For some reason, they didn't get shipped with one of these shipments. It got left out, so they're sending me that for free, or not for free. I paid for it, but you know what I mean. They're not charging me shipping. Got two new radiators for the bike because the original radiators, the cores on both sides had areas where they had rotted out. They were just, this bike's almost 30 years old. You can't expect it to run perfectly with parts that are worn or deteriorating. So I went ahead and ordered these work style radiators, and I think they were like $130 or something like that. They weren't too terribly bad. I've tested them, I've held them up. The holes look like they're going to line up just right. I took this whatever that thing is out of the package to ensure that it was going to fit properly, and it does. It's going to clip right in. Just you push it and clip it in, but I don't want to do that right now. So a good quality product. Like I said, I don't know these people. Don't have no affiliation with them, but it's called Works Studio High Performance Racing. I went ahead and got a couple of new spark plugs. What else? New brake pads, front and rear. I think you can see that from over there. New front and rear brake pads. These were a Rocky Mount ATVMC. They are cinchered pads, so I don't see any problem. They should be as good as the EBCs I usually get. They're cinchered pads. And it says right there, cinchered metal, so it should be good. The rotors on the bike had already been replaced a couple of years ago by the original owner, and they're in excellent condition. But anyway, we're over here to talk about the engine, so that's what we're going to talk about. So we're going to tear this engine down further and check this out on this side. I'm going to pull the flywheel and the stator and clean that out in there. Clean this flywheel up. It's a little crusty looking, and the paper gasket on this thing was never replaced. At least I don't think it was. No silicone was put on it. And I believe water got in there. That orangey looking stuff right here, that's dirt from the clay. This orangey looking color on the flywheel is clay. So muddy water got in there somehow. I've resolved that because I've ordered a new aluminum cover, a factory Boysen cover I've ordered for this, along with the whole new engine gasket set. So I wanted to pull the flywheel off, but I can't find my flywheel puller to save my life. I just tore down, let's see, I'll show you. I just tore this engine right here, that YZ250 engine right there. I just pulled it completely apart. I had it spread out this whole table here, and then about 3 or 4 weeks ago I just stuck everything back together. I didn't tighten any bolts, just kind of threw it back together so I wouldn't have to worry about losing the parts. But I used the puller on that engine, and I'm almost positive, I'm not 100%, but I'm almost positive that flywheel puller will work on the KDX or KX for that matter. Alright, so we're back here. Got the gasket off, and went ahead and shoved a rag down here just to keep anything from falling in there during this process. It's going to take a few days. It's not something for you, it'll just be a few minutes or so, but for me it's going to be a few days. Let's get this Kickstarter off for starters. Just gotta, right, there's the washer in there. No washer in there. Oh my God. Well, that is a problem, isn't it? I'll see. Let me go grab my magnet. This is the KIPS. It has broken off. Someone broke it. It's been that way for a while. So it got broken. So that means that means the power valve was not working on this bike. And I know how it happens, and I'll tell you if you don't know already. When you take this nut is left-hand thread, which righty-tighty does not work. This is righty-loosey, so you have to turn it as if you're tightening it to loosen it. And if someone tries to loosen it the conventional way, then they're not going to. They're just tightening it. And when that happens, they put torque on this little pin, and it snaps it off. And then it spins around. There is a horseshoe that goes on here that has a hole in it. It lines up with this small little dowel right here, but it's not enough to keep it in there. And this will spin around. Let me get that off there. This will spin around and snap that right off. And I guarantee you that when somebody went into this motor and they put that in there, they broke this off because they didn't know, either they didn't know what they were doing, they weren't familiar with this type of engine. Kawasaki's are like this, and this year range, they weren't familiar with it, and they broke it. So I have to order this little piece that goes right here. Oh, I dropped it. It goes right here. You can't see, but it goes right there. And there's two little Allen screws here, socket head cap screws. Holy crap, man, what is that? It's probably where this thing's been rattling around in the bottom of the case. When we clean this out, there are probably little scratches all over the place where this thing's just been rambling around in there, grinding away at the aluminum, and that's probably why it's so gray down in the bottom. Not for any other reason. This is the gearbox, and the only thing that's going to make this stuff turn dark gray, the oil turn dark gray and sludgy like that, is aluminum. Steel is going to be steel. If I take this magnet and I run it through this goop, then there would be a bunch of goop stuck to this magnet, but there's not. So it's aluminum grindings, I guess. It's not really going to hurt anything because aluminum is a really soft metal, but it's still bothersome to know that someone broke that. And I've seen some mechanics that they just don't know what. They'll actually take, I've seen a mechanic now take one of those Scotch-Brite pads on a die grinder and get the gaskets off. You don't take any abrasives to aluminum at all, because you're going to end up gouging it. It's really soft material. It's not like cast iron or steel where you can get the gasket off and not harm the base material at all. Aluminum will remove really quickly, and you won't even notice. And these things don't require any silicone. You should be able just to put a gasket on it, tighten the bolts, and you're good to go. If it leaks, it's because someone did some crazy mess like that, because they ruined an engine. I mean, I had a VMAX one time that I rebuilt the engine on, that someone else, well, I went through the engine. Someone else rebuilt it, but I went through the engine because they couldn't get the thing to stop leaking oil, and they just kept piling. So they took it apart, kept piling silicone on everything, and the reason they couldn't get it to stop leaking oil was because someone had taken one of those wheels to grind the gasket off. You always use a razor blade. You got to be careful, of course, but it'll get right under the gasket. See that? It comes off really quickly. You know, if you got some that's stuck a little bit, it'll get it. You just got to play with it. It's not the fast way to do it, but it is the right way to do it. So anyway, you see what I'm talking about. I've got to order a part. So as it turns out, I am glad that I took this engine apart, because there's no way the power valve could have been working. No way at all. Yeah. I don't really want to split the case on this thing, but it's starting to look like I should. But I'm not going to do that right now. I think this video has gone on long enough, and we're just going to leave it there until I get the part that I need. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get on the internet right now and order that part.